Hey everybody, it's me, John Ward, and I am back with another Reviews After Midnight. And this video is going to be a little interesting. It's and I say that because I know the people who made this film. And so it's always a little difficult to review something that you know the people who made it, because if you say it's great, then people watching this review will go, "Oh, you're saying it's great because you know the people who made it." If I say, "Oh, it's awful," then the filmmakers are saying, "Okay, well, why are you saying it's awful?" "Oh, because you know us and you don't want people to think uh that that you don't want to praise it or anything like that." So I kind of have to look at this in the same way that I did a previous video, which is the Return to Yucca Flats video, where I also know the people who made that. And so I figured while I was watching this film, which is Horror Tales.666 Part 3, that I think I have to do this review as a filmmaker. Um, I have to look at this as also someone who is putting together their own anthology. I have it's a two-parter cosmic horror anthology, and which should be coming out sometime next year. Um, and that's how I'm going to look at this. So I'm going to review this as a filmmaker who's putting together his own anthology, and look at what I liked and what I didn't like. Um, if you're a filmmaker, you know how difficult it is to make a film. If you're not a filmmaker, maybe you don't realize that even if it's an independent film or like a micro budget movie, it's still difficult. Just because you're not making, Captain America or Harry Potter or Avatar, that making an indie film is not as difficult. It has its own issues. And putting together an anthology is also difficult. A lot of people go, "Oh, well, it's easy, you just put other people's movies in your anthology." That's a yes and no, because I'm doing two films for my anthology, one on each part. You also have to do the wraparound and host segments. You have to find filmmakers that will do a good job. Hopefully they're creating interesting stories. You have to keep on them to get these films to you, and they have to keep on me to make sure that I release it. My Unfortunately, my two films are taking a little bit longer than I was hoping, but next year should be the time. So like I said, that's how I'm looking at this, as a filmmaker who has made other films but is also putting together his own anthology. So I have not seen um Horror Tales.666 Part 1 or 2. I've only seen Part 3. And so I have no reference to the other movies. So I can't use those as, "Oh, I liked Part 1 better than 2, or I liked 2 better than Part 1," or anything like that. I have no idea what this storyline is, which seems to have a continuing like host story, which would be like the wraparound segments. And so the people that are in this. So, well, first let me say the running time on it is 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 55 seconds. That's a good running time. I don't like independent stuff that is 2 hours. It's just, give me 70 minutes, give me 80 minutes, 90 minutes at most. And I'd mentioned in another video that I did that unless it's Terrifier 2 that runs at like 2.5 hours, which I loved, please give me something that's 90, 80, or 70 minutes, especially if it's indie. But I guess if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign and you get a shitload more money than you were expecting, like they did for Terrifier 2, that director's just going to throw everything at, at the film, including the kitchen sink. So, but I'm happy that this is 80 minutes. It's brought out by the Sleaze Box, and the main people that I know or have heard of. So, like I know Joel D. Winecoop, and he plays the burglar who is in the first and second film. So this is a continuation of that character that he does. His wife is also in this, Kathy Winecoop. Phil Herman is in the film. He presents it. He's basically, I guess, like the main producer of this series. But he also stars in it too. And he's like directs an episode, and like Joel directs all of the wraparound stuff. There is Butch Patrick from the Munsters, from the original Munsters. He does do a guest voice cameo. I don't know him personally, but he kind of did the same thing in Rob Zombie's The Munsters, where he did like a voice cameo. And like I said, he does the same thing here. Another person that I know, but she goes under a different name. So I know her on Facebook as Kimberly Cole Zimke, but in the film, she goes under Kimberly Lynn Cole. So I don't know if that really makes a difference, but those are the people that I know, and or at least know of, like Butch Patrick. So it starts off with, and once again, like I said, I haven't seen the other two, so I don't know if this is just a repeat or something new. So it looks like the character that Joel plays, the burglar, is stuck in front of a computer, and he has to read stories. And his wife, Kathy, plays the witch who's keeping him there to read these anthology stories. There is another character that I guess is in the other films called the Ghost. He's mentioned in this, he or she is mentioned in this, but we don't see the ghost. Also, like Chris Woods is mentioned in the credits too at the beginning. So, and he's part of Sleaze Box. But so at the very beginning of this, the burglar thinks he's done, but it says Horrotales.666 part 2, and then in quotes, another story. And he's like, oh no, I thought I was done. Okay, well, I guess I have to read this other story. And the witch tells him, yeah, you got to read this other story. So he reads it, and it's called He Who Laughs Last. And this one is like written, directed by Joel. It stars his wife, Kathy. And but I don't know if this is if this is at the tail end of the second film and they're just repeating it for the third film, or maybe this was a story that they couldn't fit onto the last film for part 2, so they added on this. So I'm not really sure how that works. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But it's basically about husband and wife. The wife is a agoraphobic, and she never leaves the house. They're running out of food and everything. Joel has to go to work. Oh, and there will be spoilers in this. So so I'm going to tell you the twist endings to these things. So the film has now been out long enough. If you have an interest in seeing it, I suggest clicking this off, watch it, and then come back, or just watch this knowing the twist endings. But that's my warning right now. There are going to be major spoilers, because I feel that I cannot tell the stories without giving the twist away. So with that being said, there's your warning. So Joel has to go out, he has to work, he'll be back in 12 hours. The Kathy character is she's also very scared. So she doesn't leave the house because she's has agoraphobia, and she's also very scared. Um, uh, and so she starts hearing these noises. She looks out the window, and it's different people in, I guess they're just supposed to be like a mask. But there's one that's like an alien and one that's a monster, and she's terrified. And she runs into the bathroom to hide from all of them. And because she has like a weak heart. And so she runs to hide. And in the shower, a werewolf pulls open the shower curtain, and "Rrr!" And she and goes down. um Joel comes home, and now this is the thing. So this is something that kind of bothered me a little bit. If you're the host in the wraparound segments and your wife is in these wraparound segments, it might not be best to do your stories with you in them, because it is a little confusing. Like, are these supposed to be the same characters, um or anything like that? Or move it further into the story instead of making it like the very first one. um Also, this is my biggest pet peeve in film. People do not die with their eyes shut. They die with their eyes open. If you're knocked out on the ground and you're not dead, you're just knocked out, your eyes are shut. If you die, your eyes are open. Unless maybe like you die in your sleep, something like that. It annoys me so much that, I mean, it's even big budget movies do it, and it drives me absolutely insane. And I just don't like it. And so that happens in this. But so she passes out, Joel comes in, he's like, oh my god, my wife. And he starts laughing because now he's going to inherit all of her money. I would think that he's probably going to be getting all of her props and posters and toys, because that's, I believe they probably filmed in their own house, and it is literally a copyright nightmare with all the stuff they have in there, which is pretty cool. But for film, my God, I mean, just to get clearances on all that stuff, if this was like a mainstream movie, would be an absolute nightmare. But so he's supposed to inherit all of her money, and he composes himself, calls 911. My wife has had a heart attack. He then starts laughing again when he gets off the phone. And then he sees the shower curtain moving, just like it did with her. And it pulls open, and it's the werewolf again. And now he has the heart attack. And he dies. So that's the end of that story, I guess, for part 2. So now we go back to the wraparound stuff with the burglar and the witch. And he's like, well, now I'm done. I've read all these stories. Can I leave? The witch is like, no, you can't. Now, there's something in these wraparound things that I don't really like. They mostly on Kathy. Well, it's only on Kathy. They do this filter that looks very much like Windows Movie Maker type thing. And they have her repeat stuff. Like it's she says it once, but then they repeat it 4 times. Now, the rule of thumb is 3. If you're going to repeat something, it's 3. Comedy is done in 3, trilogies are 3. If you see those like ... at the end of sentences, it's normally ... it's 3. 1 is a period for the sentence, 2 means you're crazy, or like, what the hell are you trying to do? 3, people know what you're doing. 4 means you're nuts. So things are done in 3s for a reason, because 3s work. If you go past 3, it's like, okay, I get it. So a lot of the times when they do this weird filter on her, and she says like, and she repeats throughout the film that she's like going to rip his balls off or cut his balls off or whatever it is, that's done a little too much. She does mention intestines once, which I thought was good. And but it gets a little kind of annoying because you're hearing it 4 times. I think over and over again 3 times would probably be annoying, but it's too much. Um, and Joel with the burglar is a little over the top. He's kind of very chaotic. And I couldn't tell that maybe there was something mentioned in the other movies that he's maybe supposed to be special needs, because he can't read properly. And the way that he acts kind of means, I don't know, I thought maybe there might be something wrong with him. This is my first viewing of him as the burglar, so maybe there's something I don't know. But these wraparounds do kind of go on a little bit. And so she tells him, no, you got to read another one. So you know, he doesn't want to, but he does it. So the story that's after that is called Death is the Only Option. And this one I actually thought could be maybe an interesting feature, like a short film, 70 minutes. So it deals with the mob. There's a hit. These two guys go out into like the desert, and there's a grave already dug, and they push this guy in, and they shoot him up, bury his body, and they leave. The next day, the guy, there's two guys, and the main guy gets a phone call saying from the other guy that was with him, saying that their Mark, who they killed, has been seen walking around. And the guy's like, wait, what are you talking about? We killed him. So now the mob guy, the head mob guy who basically put a hit on this other guy, reaches out to our main guy and says, okay, you screwed me, basically. So now I'm coming after you. I gave you your money, you screwed me. Now I'm going to make your life a living hell. So he kills the second guy that was out there doing the hit. And then this guy's family basically gets killed. And first is his dad, and then it looks like maybe like his wife possibly gets murdered, and then his son gets murdered. I like the son being murdered because you don't see that a lot. You don't see kids getting killed a lot. And in real life, it's awful, but in movies, it's more of a reality. I mean, it should happen more. But I do like that. I like that they did that. And then he then is out on a like a call, and they're saying, look, you need to go pick up this, well, he communicates with like the main mob guy that he's going to kill him. Earlier, I'm skipped something. Earlier on, before all these deaths happen to his family, he's told to go out and he needs to get like a package. So he goes to the place that he's supposed to go to. They open up the trunk, they throw in something that looks like a body. And after that is when all these people die. And he gets a phone call from like a friend saying, beware of what's in your trunk. That's the Mark. And the guy's like, what? Wait a minute, what are you talking about? And he turns the mirror, his rearview mirror, and what pops up is the guy that he shot at the beginning of the movie that was in the bag, who's now in the back of his seat, is a vampire. And he reaches through and like bites the guy on the neck, and the car kind of swerves. And that's why the guy never died, and they saw him walking around. And I thought the vampire thing was not a bad twist. It might have been nice to see the vampire someplace, maybe like show him like at a dance place, or I don't, it maybe anything, maybe just show him, in a flat, maybe like a flashback or something. But I like the twist, and I think that this could actually be like a decent, like a short feature, like I said, like 70 minutes. So that one wasn't bad. I like that one. The next one is called Devious Stratograms. And this one's directed by Phil Herman. And he stars in it. That's also the one that has Kimberly Cole Zimke in it. And I was really confused with it, to be honest. So Kimberly's at the very beginning. She's at home. She gets murdered. So that's kind of our opening kill. Then it goes to Phil Herman, and he's on the phone with a woman that he's having an affair with. And they don't know what to do. They're going to run off and be together with everybody, but they're both married. And we see that Phil Herman's wife in this, she's in the shower and she asks him to bring in shampoo. And he's like, ugh. And he goes in and gives her the shampoo. And she's an attractive woman who's in the shower, no nudity on that. And I don't know, I'm not sure if she was meant to be a nag, because she's like, hey, can you bring me the shampoo, when it's clearly right there. I mean, I've gotten out of the shower like, oh crap, I need soap. I've gotten out of the shower and gone to get soap, or oh crap, I need a new bottle of shampoo. I get out. So I don't really know why she couldn't get out of the shower to grab the shampoo. So maybe it was to show that she was kind of like a nag. And then we see the woman that Phil Herman's character is having an affair with, that her husband comes home and he's like a big guy, like a big overweight guy, has a hard day at work, and he's an abuser, and beats her up, rapes her, and then says, make me dinner. So that then goes to Phil Herman basically killing his wife in the shower, and he's got like a knife. And then we go back to the woman that he's having the affair with. She writes a note saying, I'm ending my life, I can't take it anymore. And she has like a bottle of pills, and she's going to fake her death, so then her husband freaks out and leaves. With her we get full nudity, so bravo on that one. I'm more than happy, and especially if this is sleeves box, we better get some nudity. And she looks good. And so she gets onto the bed. The husband comes home, sees her, tries to wake her up. He can't, freaks out a little bit, but then decides to rape her dead body. She wakes up. He has a heart attack on top of her. She rolls him off. She goes into the bathroom, starts talking to herself in the mirror. Okay, he's dead. We can now go do this thing. I can leave with my lover, and everything is good. She leaves the bathroom and sees he's not on the bed anymore. And she's like, oh shit. And he's comes up behind her and starts strangling her. And we find out that he has realized what she's done by faking her death. So he faked a heart attack and killed. Yeah, he does kill her. He strangles her, and her eyes are open when she dies, which is nice. And then he basically packs some stuff, leaves. We get some stock footage of two cars hitting each other, and we see him dead on the side of the road. And he's actually got some good makeup on. His eyes all kind of weird, and he's got blood on him and stuff like that. So it's a thing of irony that he murders her to escape, and he dies in this car accident. So it really isn't until like right now, to be honest, that I didn't understand Kimberly's death at the beginning, because she gets stabbed. What does that have to do with the rest of the short? So then we hear, and I'm purposely skipped over this to go back to it. So before the wife fakes her death, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. So after she fakes her death, and then the husband isn't there, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. No, it has to be before she faked her death. She gets the phone call. God, I'm mixing this all up. Okay, so I'm not going to try to figure out where it was placed, but in that area, she gets a phone call from the police. That's Butch Patrick's voice, and saying, oh no, okay, good. I'm sorry. So she thinks the husband is dead, rolls him off, calls Phil Herman's character, and the police answer the phone, which is Butch Patrick, and he's saying, Well, Tommy is the name. So Butch Patrick says Tommy's been arrested for murder. He cut up his wife. He's a serial killer. He's killed multiple women. And if you were involved with him, you should be happy that you weren't the next victim. And she fakes the call that she's like a bill collector and hangs up. So it really isn't until really right now, I was kind of going through this, that I realized, okay, so that's Phil Herman's character at the beginning of the film, killing Kimberly. So that must have been his last girlfriend. And now he's moved on to this other woman, and then who he's killed, and then having an affair with this woman who he most likely will eventually kill too. And the cops arrest him for murdering like his wife, all because she wanted shampoo. So, and then it goes to that he's not dead, he strangles her, there's the car accident and all that, and that's where that one ends. So I guess now it's, after I think about it, it's not as confusing as I thought it was, because I was watching it going, I don't understand Kimberly's death at the beginning, but now I do. So now it makes sense. So Phil might have wanted to make it a little bit more clear without giving away the twist that these murders were going on. That somebody was a radio report or a newspaper or something that the married woman is looking at, and it says murders are still happening, that type of thing. So then that then goes to back to like Joel and Kathy. I don't want to read another story, but you have to read another story. There's a lot of that weird stuff that they're doing with the image and the repeating and all that stuff. And then he sits down to read another story, which is called The Vessel. And this one I liked. I actually think it's the best one. And I will say this now so it doesn't sound like I'm stealing from it. But I did have an idea that's similar to this that I want to do as a feature. So, which is something I thought of about 2 years ago. So they are similar, but they're not at all the same type of thing. It's just an idea that like a little grain is in there. So I'm just saying for the record, I did not take, if I end up making what I want to make, I did not take it from this film, but maybe that's why I think this is the best one, is because it does remind me of something that I want to do. So, and this one is interesting because the lead actress in this film is actually deaf. So everything is done mostly through like using hand signs. And so the lead actress is talking to her friend who, and I even had to check on this, who is identical to the main actress who was in the first Paranormal Activity films. Well, actually, she's throughout all of them, but she's the main actress in the first film. And this actress is like, could be her, almost like her twin sister. It's so weird. As I thought, oh, is that the woman from Paranormal Activity? And it isn't. They just look very similar. And dealing with some sort of paranormal activity. So the deaf woman is talking to her friend. It's all through sign language. And what it is that she bought it's like a vase at an estate sale, I think they said, but it's used. And she bought it, she brought it home, and now there's some sort of evil, like demonic presence in the house. So her friend, who is religious, recommends calling a person from the church that she goes to see if they can clean the house, do like an exorcism. And the main girl, the deaf girl, she's like, well, I don't mean to insult your religion or your beliefs and everything, but and so I'm guessing the friend is, and this one could actually be not a bad feature either. So I'm guessing that the main girl, the deaf girl, is an atheist, and which I think could have been made a little more clear. You don't have to hit it on the head, but a little bit more clear. And so the other friend, the religious friend, calls the person from the church. They come over, they explain some occurrences that have happened. And so the person from the church calls out for the spirit to show up. The spirit shows up. She holds the crucifix. She's got the rosary wrapped around her hand. She holds it up, and it's a female spirit, all in black with the makeup on. And it doesn't, she thinks it works, but it doesn't work. Basically she just gets bitch slapped by the entity and she's knocked out. So then the atheist girl, the deaf girl, grabs the rosary, and which I thought this was interesting, is she holds the rosary up to like the demon, and in sign language she's spelling out the demon's name, and she's telling it to like get out of the house. And I thought that was interesting that it's done in sign language. And the demon, I guess, because it's a demon, probably knows a whole bunch of different languages, including sign language, dies, disappears, and it's gone. And we cut to, like, I think it's at 6 months later, there's a knock on the door, and our main character, the deaf girl, she picks up, it's a covered book, but I think it's supposed to be the Bible, but in like a kind of like a leather case. She's got the rosary. She opens up the door, and her religious friend is there. So I'm guessing now that from that experience, the atheist is now religious, most probably Christian or Catholic, and they're now going to church. And I don't mind that idea, actually. I wrote a script where a guy's an atheist, and he by the end of the movie, he does believe what's going on. He dies, but he does believe what's going on now. He does believe that there's a God. So myself being an atheist, I don't mind the idea of somebody turning it and taking an atheist and making them religious, because that's the only way I would do it. I mean, something would have to happen like that. Either God would have to come down from the sky, and I'd be like, oh shit, I don't like you, but at least I believe you, believe in you. Or something like this demonic presence would have to be there. And that's how I would believe. So I like that one. I thought it was pretty good. The Vessel is the name of it. Then the last story is called Victoria. And this one's a little confusing too. It's a vampire story. It's a female vampire. She's a little bit older, and she's got like kind of like the buck teeth fangs. She doesn't have like the fangs on the sides. And she's in her own country. She mostly lives in like castles, and it's like a European country. And this is done like a silent movie, but it's shot in color, not black and white, which it probably should have been if you're going to go the whole silent movie route. And there's the cards come up. So when the person talks and it's silent, it cuts to the card that says, oh, I'm going to the bank. And then it cuts back to the person, and then it cuts back to the card going, I need to take out some money, that type of thing. And there's music, but there's no voices. So like I said, I think if you're going with the silent route, then you got to shoot it in black and white. It can't be color. If you're going to do the color thing, then shoot it in black and white. And then, which you can very easily do today with digital cameras, you can also shoot in color and basically just change it to black and white, which is what I've done on some stuff. And then you could colorize it to make it look color. So there's different ways of doing it, but I think shooting it in color was not the best thing to do, or at least presenting it in color was not the best thing to do. And she goes to a few different countries. I think New York is one of them, and then she goes to a place that might be in Africa. I think I could be wrong about that, but she hits a couple different countries and realizes that like these are small towns or villages, and there's no blood for her because she needs blood, and she had all the blood that she wanted back in her hometown. And And so I got a little confused with this because I didn't know if she was still in the same location, because it cuts to her back in her, like the room that's in her castle. But I don't think it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be in like the last country that she's in. And she's like desperate for blood. And this guy knocks on the door, and I guess that he's maybe like he is like a fugitive. According to the credits, it says fugitive with his title. And she invites him in. She's, oh, food, now I can get some blood. And he tells her a little bit of his travels. And then she goes down to bite him. And he's like, not going to happen. And he turns, and he's a werewolf. And basically destroys her and eats her, is what I'm assuming. One thing that I definitely would have left out of this is that there is water, and somebody throws like dye in it, and it looks nice. It kind of trickles all through the water down. They would have never had that in a silent movie. So I thought that was out of place. Also, I couldn't tell if this was meant to be present day or maybe it's a period piece. Just because of some of the things that they show us on like the castle and the cards that the fugitive guy is using, is I didn't exactly buy that this was meant to be in the past. It kind of felt like, because it almost looked like there was like a cable or something going up to an antenna at one point. So I thought that one was okay. And then we go back to, when that's done, back to the burglar and the witch, and she lets him go. You're done. You read all the stories. You can go. And he's like, oh, awesome. So he runs outside, and then laughing starts happening, and more laughing and more laughing. And it's all in his head. He's like, no. And he starts to run, and he's running and running, hearing all these voices. There's one bad edit in that where I think probably Joel set the camera up like way ahead of him so he could run towards it. And you could see him start to run when he should have been running already, to connect the continuity of him running from street to field. That should have been shaved just a little bit to look like he's still running. And the voices stop, and he's like, oh, awesome, the voices stop. And then a beam of light comes down, and he looks up, and it's a UFO. This ending I kind of like. And he gets taken up through the beam, and he's all in darkness, and the aliens are there, and that's pretty much where it ends. And so I'm guessing he's getting a nice anal probe. I mean, who doesn't want that? And then at the very end, after the credits, it does say, let me see how I wrote it down. Let me get it right. There it is. It does say, coming soon, Horror Tales 666 Part 4, Horror in Space. And it does give all the credits for all the shorts that were made. There's like a special thanks area where I think they did names twice by mistake. So some of the names that are listed are like Sean Donahue, who's part of the Sleaze Box, Will Caslow, who I've worked with. He did Bloody Nun, like 1 and 2. We did Night of the Zomghouls, some of that together. Some of that stuff you can check out on Tubi. And David Perry, who I've worked with also. He was in Night of the Zomghouls. There's also Avery Crumley, who I've also done some work with. So they're listed. Those are the names that I recognized. But it was weird so it would say like Will Caslow, and then at the very bottom, like near the end, it would say William Caslow. And I'm thinking, like, is that his dad or something? Like, is Will like a junior? Because why are these names? And it happens with a few people where the names look like they're listed twice, but it's the full name. So it'd be William Caslow and instead of Will Caslow, which is up here. So I don't know if that was an editing error. So I thought that was kind of weird. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty. Boris wants to be pet. I just hit him in the head by mistake. That's it. So that's pretty much my review. So would I recommend this? If you like Phil Herman's films, if you like Joel D. Coop's films, if you like stuff from the Sleaze Factory, I would say, yeah, watch it because it's right up your alley. If you're used to not maybe that type of stuff, stuff that has a lot of nudity, a lot of violence, it's very micro budget, very indie film stuff, you may not like it. Excuse me. I kind of fall in the middle. And so for people who like that stuff, I would probably give this 3 stars, let's say 3 out of 5. If you like that type of stuff. If you're somebody who likes anthologies that are more slick, bigger budget, maybe like the ABCs of Death or the VHS movies, I might have to then give this 2 stars out of 5. So if you're expecting something, like I said, that's more slick. So yeah, so I would say check it out, or pick it up through Sleaze Box. Parts 1 and 2 were there. They had a sale recently where actually parts 1 and 2 were pretty cheap. So I thought of picking them up, but I'm trying to stay away from sales right now, till next year. But that's pretty much it. So yeah. So overall, I recommend it. It does have its problems. It's not perfect. I am curious to see what parts 1 and 2 are. And I know right now Phil Herman is doing another anthology. So I'll be curious to see what that one is too. So, all right, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it. And, I appreciate you watching the video and supporting it. Please like, comment, let me know what your favorite anthologies are. So, the anthologies are awesome and I can't wait for people to see the 2 that I'm bringing out. So I'm working hard on those. One thing that I will say is, in my opinion, if you're making an anthology, you don't want to have too many of the same type of stories. So, you don't want to have like 2 vampire stories. You don't want to have 2 stories about a husband trying to murder his wife. You don't want to have, so with this type of thing, when you have, films that deal with, let's say, like he who laughs last, about a guy who goes to kill his wife to get the money. And then you have something like, devious stratograms that also deal with killing a spouse. I don't know. I would kind of stay away from doing the same type of thing. And then there's 2 films that deal with vampires. Might want to stay away from 2 vampires. So maybe, do one where the husband is trying to kill the wife, not do the other one. Keep the better vampire film, and then if you do another one of these, then put the other vampire film on. So it gets a little repetitive. So that's something that I forgot to add in while going through the stories. It wasn't too bad, but it's just, I don't know. It's something that I really tried to do with the 2 that I'm working on. Is I did not want the same stories at all. I read the scripts. I had the directors send me their scripts, and then I would okay the scripts because I did not want 2 of the same thing. And there is not one of the stories on there is similar to another one. So they're all cosmic horror, but they're different cosmic horror films. And so that's, in Creep Show, let's say the George Romero Creep Show, you don't want to have, you got, like on Father's Day, you got the dead dad who comes up through the grave, who is a zombie, but he's all messed up and he's got the skull and all that type of stuff. But then you also have the episode where with Leslie Nielsen, where he kills his wife and her lover, and they come back all, excuse me, from the dead because they were in the ocean, and they're all like their skin is all like wrinkled and stuff. And technically those are zombies, but it's done So you got two zombie shorts, but they're done very differently. And so the Father's Day zombie looks very different from the other zombies, so it's that type of thing. If you're going to do it, make it look different. And but in this, it was I don't know. I think maybe for it being low budget and all that maybe staying away, trying to do original stuff throughout it would be best. But I don't know. Who am I? So maybe it works for a lot of people. Maybe they never thought about that. So okay, so I guess that's it. And thank you once again. I appreciate it. And I will see you next month on another Reviews After Midnight. Bye.